All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Design Week Philippines 2021 Design Connections. Ako si AJ Dimarucot, and I would like to welcome you to this masterclass, Global Opportunities for Global Filipino Designers. At Design Week Philippines, we host all kinds of talks and masterclasses to cover the wide spectrum of perspectives in the world of design. Yesterday's talk, Design Education for Kids, showed us the ways we can introduce design-based approaches in educating children and how we can get kids into design education from a young age, preparing the design of today for the designers of tomorrow. But kids grow up eventually, and growing up means finding your own voice as a creative. What's my voice? What's my style? Everybody asks that. How do I stand out in the competitive world of design? For this afternoon's masterclass, I'll be showing designers how to do just that. Welcome to Designers Without Borders, Global Opportunities for Global Filipino Designers. A masterclass on how to create opportunities for yourself to reach a global audience and build a sustainable design career from home or from anywhere in the world. But before I begin, allow me to acknowledge the partners and friends who have supported this year's festival. The Design Center and Design Week Philippines would like to thank the Department of Trade Industry, our festival co-curator, Fringe Manila and Pineapple Lab, our international partner, British Council, our creative media partner, Adobo Magazine, our live stream partner, Kumu, our design partner, Canva, and our program partners, NASA Space Apps Philippines, and a half, Fame Plus, Buen Salido Architects, University of Cebu Animation, UXPH, Life After Breakfast.ph, Matic Hub, Robbins Design Center, Philippine International Comics Online Festival, Comiket, Design Davao Society, Architecture Design de Oro, Cagayan de Oro Design Week. So if you in the audience want to show your support as well, don't forget to post about us with the hashtag Design Week PH 2021. Along with Design Week Philippines, the Design Center of the Philippines would like to present a new project, Better Normal by Design. But Better Normal by Design is about data-driven design process and product development, resulting in design solutions fit for the times. Collections of objects were designed quintessentially for the three localized personas: the stabilizer, the settlers, and the new optimists. These collections anticipate the needs and requirements of the personas' emerging lifestyles while being mindful of the consumer shift towards responsible consumerism. Better Normal by Design nudges the Filipino MSMEs into action to rethink products, processes, including business plans and even reasons for existing to resonate with the future of business. Download the lookbook by scanning the QR code shown on the screen. Ayan, let's not wait any longer. Let's start our session today with a little icebreaker. So I'm wondering who's here, who's attending. Because I can't see any of you, I want to be able to figure out who you are. So we'll be flashing a QR code on the screen. Give the QR code a scan to join the icebreaker. And if you have a hard time accessing it through the QR code, you can always head on over to menti.com, menti.com, and use the code. It's being flashed there below, 63723799. Yeah, I just need to figure out who's here, who's listening, because I can't ask you, so we're gonna ask you through this website, Menti. So while you're scanning the QR code or logging in, let me explain to you what's gonna happen next. We will be asking two questions. The first question will only require a simple answer. One word is fine. These answers will be transformed into a word cloud. The second question will be a more open-ended, free to express yourself, freely. Can be long and can be short as long as you answer. Okay, is everyone ready? Okay. Earlier I mentioned the design is a powerful tool to create social good. So here comes our first question. Okay, the scariest thing about freelancing is blank. Yeah, I want you guys to answer that into yun, wow. Being ghosted. Unsustainable pressure. Wow, okay. Shortage of clients. Okay, we'll be discussing that today. Um, what else can I see here? It's really being unstable. It's people are really talking about that being unpredictable, unstable income, uncertainty of projects, work, walang makuhang client. So yes, all of these things essentially is what we're here for. And freelancing is, as like myself, dinaanan ko yan, ang sinasabi nila feast or famine. Pero hopefully with what I'm teaching you, I'll be showing you today, these issues would be lessened. Kasi marami tayong ways to approach really looking for clients. Tamang-tama yung presentation ko for you guys. Okay? So for the second question, um, since this is the 10th year celebration of Design Week Philippines, ano yung wish nyo? What is your wish for Philippine design today? So ito, you can answer mas mahaba. Ako naman, Philippine design, tulad ng ano ninyo is, unang-una is, I hope that makita ang design as a really, really powerful career choice that we can, pursue as a young person, as a fresh grad, or even young kids, that they can pursue design as a career. Yan. Progressive, yung mga sagot ninyo. Acquire knowledge to be accessible for everyone, exactly. Inclusive, creative control, globally competitive. Nako, saktong-sakto yan sa pag-uusapan natin. Level up to the max, yan din. To be recognized, something that can be pursued. After 10 years, we need to focus on equal representation, yes. Into queer design, yes. And designers outside of Metro Manila, nako, sobrang kailangan natin yan. Kasi a lot of what's happening is Manila-centric. I totally agree with that. More people have access, transparent, gain more recognition. Ito yung gusto ko about us kasi napakagaling ng Filipino. That's why we need to be on the global stage and letting people know how good we are. Okay? To be known globally, exactly. So medyo in tugma yung pag-uusapan ko dun sa gusto ninyo mangyari for Philippine design. Okay? Sige, so at least I kind of learned a little bit about you guys with those questions. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. We hope it's going to get into a mindset for discussions later. And at any point, if you want to ask a question, just comment down below. Some people in the back room channels will let me know if there's a really nice question I think that they think I should answer. Then I'm gonna stop my current presentation and I'm gonna answer your question. So please feel free to engage in the comments. If you feed sa akin yun ng people behind the scenes, no. So just ask anytime if you want to bring up anything. So yun, it's ready na ba tayo? Let's proceed. I'm gonna show you my screen. So today's title is Designers Without Borders. Okay, so I'm just gonna set aside this and make it a little bigger. Okay, so next please, global opportunities. Quick house rules, like I said, engage in the class by commenting, ask questions anytime. They're gonna send questions to me. And then I have a surprise at the end of this. I want to be able to give a free mentoring session to somebody who will be asking questions, and even later will ask a lot of questions. It's just a free 4-session mentorship given to somebody who really thinks they need it. Meaning, tutulungan ko sila for look at their portfolios, look at their work, see where they can improve, and then help them find what their goal is in terms of freelancing or maybe working with clients abroad. And then I'm gonna basically guide you through that process in around 4 sessions. So later let's do that surprise, and maybe we'll get somebody to help. I'll be able to help someone do that after the masterclass. Okay, next please. Okay, who am I? Yes, please proceed. Okay, if you want to guess how old I am, I basically discovered this software called Photoshop back in the 90s. A friend of mine called Arjem Vinuya, he introduced me to this software. I keep calling it an app, pero app na kasi ngayon mga kabataan eh, but it's really a software. It's called Adobe Photoshop 3.0. Gumaling ako sa Photoshop 4, and I felt like when I discovered this software, I discovered how to create um, a drop shadow. So if you take a look at the right side of the screen, a drop shadow in Photoshop back in the 90s, you need to learn how to do that, and you need to look for a tutorial online just how to do those things. So I needed to do that just to put a shadow on my text. So ngayon kahit 2-year-old can do a drop shadow on the text. So next please. So yun yung age ko. And when I learned how to do a drop shadow in 90s, I learned how to do glows. In my logo, no? Naglagay ako ng mga glow. Tapos nilagyan ko ng mga medyo kalokohan yung 90s. This was my org in UP kasi I took up this course called Industrial Engineering. Hindi man lang design or fine arts or anything or advertising. Wala. I was told by my parents to take up engineering, so I did that. So, but lumabas yung interest ko in design because instead of doing the actual work of my class I was just, I was telling my classmates, ako na bahala sa presentations natin. Ako na bahala sa mga logos, ako na bahala. You do all the work and I'll do all the, making it look good. And then, so they asked me, I was in part of this org, and they said, can you make us a logo, the IE Club? Sinabi ko, sure, okay. So lahat ng tips and tricks na natutunan ko sa Photoshop, ginawa kong logo. As you can see, it's the most wonderful, the most beautiful logo in the world by far. And they said, can you put some text? And I said, I didn't know how to do that. So I fired up PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint, of all the softwares to write all these texts on top of the. If you notice the cylinder with the gradient, that's such a common PowerPoint graphic. So yan yung skill sets ko ng 90s. Okay, next please. And then, funnily, it got me a job as a web designer for about a couple of years, and then it got me a really big job as an art director at Ogilvy and Mather here in the Philippines. Part of the Ogilvy One team. So we started their, design department for interactive. And next, please. And then I left in 2008 to pursue a freelance career. So I've been freelancing since January of 2008, and I've worked with the world's biggest clients. My favorite clients in the world, like Nike, Jordan Brand, the NBA, and Adobe. Yun yung kung saan ako nag-fall in love sa design dahil sa Adobe Photoshop 3. So naging clients ko sila. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about that in the presentation. Next, please. Like I said, I worked with Jordan Brand, and this is one of the designs I did, a T-shirt. It ended up being worn by some random fan, and that ended up in a game that I was watching live on the internet, and I saw Michael Jordan right in front of the T-shirt that I had designed. So sobrang I was watching this live, and I was like, oh my God, I think that was my shirt. And then so buti na lang I had the NBA. I paid for it, so I could rewind and all that. So I took a screenshot. So this was one of my T-shirt designs for Jordan Brand, worn by a fan behind Michael Jordan. Next, please. And then I was also able to work with Nike, and at the time, yung kasikatan ni Manny Pacquiao, as a boxer with Nike, I was able to design a couple of shirts that he wore. And if you're a kid of the 80s and 90s, you will also recognize this man beside Manny Pacquiao. His name is Steven Seagal. So yeah, super proud ako na yung design ko was worn by Pacquiao as well as taken with a photo beside Steven Seagal. Okay, next please. And then lastly, I was able to meet one of my idols. Actually, my son is really a big idol of this. His name is LeBron James, kung hindi nyo siya kilala. Um, yeah, siya yan. Kalbo pa siya. So he plays now for the Lakers. At that time, he was with the Miami Heat. Came to the Philippines and we created like we designed some sneakers, we customized them, and we had an exhibit at Nike in at the fort. Okay, so that's just a little background about me. Let's talk about this next, please. Let's talk about this masterclass. So really, what I am is this concept of a new OFW. I heard this from a friend of mine, and when I heard it, I was like, "Oh my God, that's what I am." And next, please. And a new OFW is essentially an online Filipino worker. So I'm basically an OFW or a new OFW. Next slide. But unlike overseas Filipino workers, I've traveled around the world, not physically, but through my work, but through my design. So I have clients in North America, from Canada, in the U.S., and then I have a client in South America, in Mexico. I've worked with clients in Europe, the UK, for example, and the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia. I've had a client there. My designs have traveled to China as well as Japan, in Asia, and obviously the Philippines as well as Australia. So, and wala na lang akong naging client pa sa Africa and sa Antarctica and the poles basically. Wala pa akong kliyente doon. So not an overseas Filipino worker, but I'm an online Filipino worker, and I've traveled the world through design. Okay, so that's what we'll talk about. Next, please. So the agenda for today, I'm going to talk a little bit about an introduction, and then go through a mindset, of how to think about these things. You were asking about, more clients, more, being recognized globally. I'm going to help you think about those. And then I'm going to talk about finding jobs and clients. And then if we reach that point, I want to talk about pricing and how, I think ito yung pinaka-big questions kasi that I see in terms of people looking for work and being an online Filipino worker. Unang-una, paano ba? How do I find clients? How do I find enough clients? And then, pangalawa is, ano ba ang presyo? Paano ba mag-presyo ng kliyente or ng project? Okay? Next, please. Obviously, we'll have the Q&A, and then we'll have the winner, right, of the mentoring introduction. Next, please. Okay, remote work is not the future of work. It is the present of work. Ito yung pinagsasabi ng mga tao dahil sa pandemic. Sinasabi nila, remote is the future. Actually, it's the present of work. It's been happening for the longest time. Like I said, I've been doing it for the last 12 years, since 2008. My first taste of remote work was in 2001. So 20 years ago, may remote work na. So ever since yung 33K modems, dial-up modems ng mga tatay ninyo or mga lolo ninyo, meron ng internet, meron ng clients abroad. Okay? ISP bonanza. Okay, yan na. Next. So, there are about 2.3 million OFWs, no? Yung overseas Filipino workers. Yung, according to PSA, I think it was a survey done in 2019 or 2020, if I'm not mistaken. So ito lang siguro yung official na OFW. I'm sure marami pa nagtatago at nagtatrabaho sa ibang bansa. Pero ito, I guess, yung legitimately survey. Next, please. So according to the DICT, there's about 1.5 million online freelancers. So isipin mo, 1.5 new OFWs like myself, and about and some of you and most of you who are here as well, I guess. And then 2.3 million overseas Filipino workers. So in a way, medyo malapit-lapit na rin yan. And next please. And one day, ang mga occupations na very apparent is yung creative and design. So ito yung field ko. I'm a designer. Next please. Ito yung pangarap ko na mangyayari sa OFW. Next. Yung pangarap ko is magkaroon tayo ng mas maraming online Filipino workers than overseas Filipino workers. Ang pangarap ko is there will be a day that there is no need to leave our country. There is no need to say, anak, kailangan kong maghanap ng trabaho sa ibang bansa, or love or sweetheart, a girlfriend mo or something. Kailangan kong magkayod at lumipat ng ibang bansa para makapagkasal tayo or something. Ang dream ko is, I think it's been possible for the last 12 years, and it's so much more possible even today. Obviously, some people will want to travel. They want to live in Europe. They want to live in America or Japan. I mean, that's their call. I mean, people are free to do those things. What I'm saying is that sana yung mga feeling nila napipilitan lang sila na umalis ng bansa natin ay hindi nila isipin yun kasi napakatagal na merong opportunities abroad for work coming to us. Okay? Next. So what makes one a new OFW? Ano ba yung new OFW? What's an online Filipino worker? Okay, next please. So if you sell a physical product, siguro on Facebook or Shopee or Lazada, you're an online worker basically. You're doing business online, right? So you can do this across, cities, to, sell something to your neighbors, blah blah blah, or sell something to, send it to Davao or send it to another province here in the Philippines. And when you do sell products abroad, maraming gumagawa nito. You're an e-commerce online worker essentially, or you're a business person. You can sell a product. Okay, next. You can also sell a digital product. So I sell digital products. I sell some fonts. I sell designs. I sell, you can sell music. You can sell photography. You can sell design templates, etc. So hindi lang physical lang pwede maging, to be an online worker. Next, please. You can sell a service. Ito na yung pinakamadali because we know to do something. We know how to do Photoshop. We know how to do animation. So we can sell that. Next, please. You can sell your knowledge. So if magaling ka sa something, you can sell it online. I have a coach, a training coach, parang ganyan. His name is Gabe. He's 20 plus years old. He has 40 clients all over the world or for online training. No? As in literally, nagbubuhat kami ng bubuhat siya, nagtuturuan niya ako mag push up and etc. And you can sell anything. You can sell your knowledge online. And I've never thought an online coach, like an online training coach, would actually be a feasible and possible career, but it is. And my coach is one of them. Okay, next. And then lastly, you can sell your life. Ito na yung mga magaling mag-Instagram, magaling sa YouTube, magaling mag-TikTok or Kumu. Nabibenta niyo yung buhay niyo and nabubuhay sila. I mean, it's literally a job. A lot of people will disagree, but I think a lot of people are able to do that for themselves. Okay, next. Marami pang iba. Okay, next. Let's give some examples lang. I was gonna let you guess this, pero feeling ko masyadong mahaba. Sige, next please. So there's this guy named Marvin Espina. He's been invited to a lot of talks as well. He sells physical products, and I'm not gonna let you guess anymore, but this amount of money is not what he owns or not what he gets every day, but is the amount of Facebook ad spend that he spends every day. So ito yung ginagastos niya araw-araw sa Facebook. So imagine how much income through selling products online is making him. Next, please. You can Google these people or find Facebook links. Like they're pretty um, parang known in the industry of online workers or entrepreneurs and business people. There's Lish Aquino. She also sells physical products through drop shipping through Amazon, I believe, and she sold more than $3 million worth of products. Okay, nagsimula siya, nagbebenta siya ng services tulad ko. Ngayon, nagbabenta na siya ng products. There's this guy named John Pagulayan. They call him like he's an email copywriting wizard, and a set a bunch of emails could get him a small amount of fees, but then he gets a percentage of sales from the emails. If a company sells something, he says, "You give me like 5% of what you make from the emails I write." So imbis na bayaran siya ng, kunyari, yung fee niya is $200, 10,000 pesos or $500 to write 10 emails, for example. Sabi niya, apart from that, give me a percentage of the sales of the emails that I write. And he makes 10,000 grand, he makes 750,000 pesos just on the emails that he writes. So, kilala niyan si John Pagulayan. Okay, next. Adam Gubaya is a friend of mine. He's also a t-shirt designer. He sells digital products via his service called tshirtfella.com. Pareho kami. Akala ko magaling na ako mag-t-shirt design, then I met Adam. He has 35 employees designing t-shirts and for companies around the world and startups, mostly in the US. And what he does is he takes the kids, like yung hindi nag-aaral in the streets, yung naglalaro, tapos tuturuan nila, ititrain niya, at tapos papatabahuin niya, hanggang bibigyan niya ng work. Imbis na lang tumatambay lang sa streets. Okay, next. And then there's John Orania of, I think, Nicosio University. You've probably seen ads of him. He's made ebooks and sold $2 million worth of ebooks. These are all digital products, right? And then I mentioned my coach earlier, Gabe Arabata is my fitness coach. Okay, next. So ano yung mindset natin to be a new OFW? Okay, let's continue. Ang mindset ng pagiging new OFW, hindi siya parang, though I did show you these very, very successful people with really big like dollar numbers. It's really not a get rich quick scheme. It's I've been doing it for 12 years and minsan mahirap, minsan okay. Pero so it really takes a lot of patience and daily grind. So huwag kayong magpapadala dun sa kikita ka na ganon dahil trabaho ka, or kikita ka pag binili mo yung aking course or something like that. Okay? So whatever background you are, kahit hindi ka designer or illustrator or creative, I think the mindset here would really still apply to you. Like I said, it's for the creative industry, pero yung thinking and the tools could be for somebody who's not necessarily what they call themselves creative, although I think we are all creative. But they're not necessarily in the creative field. Kumbaga. Okay, next. So yung mindset, pag-uusapan din natin yung employee versus entrepreneur. Marami dito is masisira natin yung notion of being an employee, parang, which to me is probably the most dangerous thing to be to be an employee in this world, as you've probably discovered yourselves over the last year or so because of what's happening with the COVID situation. There is no such thing as a job security. There is no such thing. Trust me. I've met some clients who have been in the big brands in the world, who have worked there for 20 years or so, who were relieved of their jobs last year. 20 years, imagine, tatanggalin ka pa. So a lot of these things and ideas that I'm going to share with you are really thinking more like an entrepreneur. And related to that is time versus tasks. Like giving up the notion of exchanging your time for money, giving up the notion that time is the only thing that you can sell. No, it's you can, but again, it's an employee mindset. When you think about like an entrepreneur, you think about tasks, you think about processes, you think about your ideas and how to, sell them. So we're going to talk about income. We're going to talk about active and passive incomes, and we're going to talk about, very importantly, believing in yourself and believing in your own dreams. Yeah, sige. Next, please. Yeah, let's jump to right to it. I'm gonna give you um, some examples of looking for work. Um, Diretso na tayo dun sa meat. Okay, so what? How do we look for jobs? Yeah, let's take a look at that. Um, okay, unang-una? What makes you different from everyone else? Alala nyo, I remember earlier you were saying paano tayo makikilala globally, paano tayo ma-recognize. Ang karamihan kasi sa atin, iniisip lang natin, paano ba yung ginagawa ng ibang tao? Tapos gusto natin ganun din. Pero when you actually look for work abroad, um, the more different you are, the more unique you are in your own skill sets, I think the better it is for your career. If you go specific to a certain niche or a certain industry or a certain specialty, I think yun ang pinaka magandang way to be able to find clients abroad. Okay, next please. So we're gonna talk about how to be able to figure that out. Ano ba ako magiging iba? Paano ba ako magiging unique? How do I attract these people, these clients that I want? And it really boils down to these things: voice, style, and identity, and which becomes your identity. So we're gonna unpack this a little bit. So ano ba yung voice? Ano ba yung style? I hear that all the time. So let's think about style. Okay, think about style as for me. If you're a designer and you use the app like myself, Photoshop, then there's going to be a certain. You can use it many ways. No? You can use it as a photo image manipulator. You can use it as drawing and painting and all that. So, whatever method or techniques you use in your work, in your design, in your illustrations, in your photography, in your writing, it will come out in your style. That is the style. Like, think of style as parang yun yung it's your go-to techniques. So, for example, if I do watercolor, that's a style. If I do uh, Chinese calligraphy watercolors. That's a style. Okay, and there's a unique style to that is apparent in the style that I choose. So, what is voice then? Voice is when you add your own personality and your own distinct experiences into your work. Parang it's a bit counterintuitive to what a lot of design teachers will tell you, a lot of what design thinking people will tell you, a lot of the uh, maybe even design schools will tell you. Um, they will ask you, what is the audience? What does the audience want? Sa akin, baliktad. What do you want? What is your voice? What is your style? What is your background? Um, why would you do for example, like I said earlier, Chinese calligraphy. Why would you do Chinese calligraphy? What do you want to say through that? Or myself, I use Photoshop and Illustrator. So a lot of my earlier works were a lot of photo-based work, photo manipulations and all of that. Way back, like back, you know, 10 years, 15 years ago. So when you have a mix of the work or the tool that you use, which is your style, and then you add your own voice, you add your own personal experience, your personal point of view in this world. What do you want to say? What do you want to showcase? What do you love? What are your passions? and you put that voice into the work that you create, it gives you an identity. And that identity is what makes you different. So, sobrang counterintuitive nito dun sa mga tuturuan na what is design thinking, what is there's certainly a place for that design thinking, design approach. What does the client want? What are the problems we're trying to solve? This is basically the opposite side of that. What I'm saying is, you start with yourself, start with who you are, and create your voice and imprint yourself into your work, and put and choose a style, a technique, a tool, whether it's photography, writing, painting, illustrations, vectors, typography. Put your voice into that style, and then you will find your identity. Obviously, you can experiment, and then you can, if you find something and continuously do that, you will find clients. You will find clients who think, oh, ang galing ng identity niya, or ang galing ng style niya, and I like that point of view. And I want to co-opt that point of view, and I want to work with that person. That's how look for your voice and develop your voice, and then bring people to come to you. Okay, next, please. So if you want to work, ito yung pinakamalaking tanong sa akin, parating tanong, paano ba trabahuan yung Nike? Paano ko ba siya magiging client si Nike? Kasi I worked with Nike so many times in the Philippines, in Singapore, in China, in the US. In fact, I have a collaboration this next month, I believe, with Nike here in the Philippines. And a lot of those projects were not even connected to each other. Parang nahanap lang nila ako in so many ways. So parang paano ko ba tatrabawin katong magiging client tong Nike? I can't, I'm not saying everybody wants to work with Nike, but a lot of people ask me, parang paano nga ba? Kasi nga I had a voice, and I had a certain style that I worked on, and that is who I was, and that was my identity as a designer. Um, so yun yung nangyari, at least in the Nike, and a lot of people, a lot of brands are kind of like Nike. I think Nike is probably the most extreme. Um, all my clients are like that. They really look for a unique person or a unique identity, a unique style, a unique voice and style that makes you different from everybody else. Okay, the thing I noticed with a lot of people here in our country is that kung ano yung uso, we also tend to want to do that, to that style or that look. Um, Unfortunately, even if you become really good at that in that style, wala kang, there's no voice, there's no imprint of who you are. Therefore, you will be like everybody else. And if people see the market, you know, the there's a deluge of a certain look from all the designers around the world, then they just go for who's probably cheapest, or who's closer to them. So you can't be unique if you're following everybody else. Okay, next. So this is like a sample of what happened in 2008, how I actually got to work with the likes of Adidas and Nike. So it started with this guy. His name is Kevin Garnett, and he wanted to. I wanted to create an image or a graphic of he's a basketball player. See, I love basketball. That's my voice. And then I love portraits because I work with pictures because of my Photoshop style, right? So I took an image of him and tweaked it and then made it and really emphasized his persona that I tried to encapsulate in this graphic, because he was such an angry, passionate person. He played with his heart. He was always screaming. He was always shouting at himself, shouting at his teammates, at his opponents. And so I wanted to take that vibe and create a graphic out of it. So this was me putting my voice and my style into a graphic. And I just put it out there in the world. And then what happened was, because I put it out there, And then I was in some random place. I met a guy at a bar. His name is Andrew. Actually, AJ then yung nickname niya. And he worked at Adidas. And then I said, you know what? I know we just met, but I wanted to show you a design. And then, thankfully, kahit nakainom na kami, sabi niya, yeah, show it to me. Email mo ako sa Monday. I'll show it to my people to my colleagues in the US. Because at the time, he was an Adidas athlete, this guy, Kevin Garnett. So pinadala niya yun. And then, walang nangyari for about a year. But about a year later, Adidas emailed me and said, you know, we received this email from our colleague in the Philippines a year ago, and we really like it, and we thought we'd buy it from you, and we really want to work with you. Ang nangyari pa nga is nabenta ko na siya kasi isang taon nang nawala eh. So nasayang yung opportunity na yun, na mabenta ko yung design na to sa Adidas. But then, sabi nila, it's okay, we'll work anyway. So yun, so we did work together. And then I ended up posting this graphic on Behance. Okay, next please. And that's how I actually got to work with Nike. So because of this whole idea of putting a graphic with my passion and my voice of loving basketball and my loving portraits and creating that image in Photoshop in my style, I was able to work with Adidas and then Nike because they saw it on a website called Behance. And that's really how, parang to me, that really was an epiphany. It really opened up my mind and my world of, parang okay, that means I can really pursue what I want and create my voice in my own style, in my own work, and then share that to the world. And then maybe some client or some, company, whether it's a big company like Nike or Adidas, it doesn't have to be, will approach me and maybe, or they'll see it and then they'll work with me. And like I said, with Adidas, I approached somebody, right? I met a guy at the bar. I talked to him and said, I want to show you my work. So yun yung ako yung nagpo-push. And then when I posted that work in a website called Behance or sharing it to the world on social media, that's where Nike found me. So sila yung lumapit sa akin. So all because of that one simple image that I had created. Okay, next please. So paano ba maghanap? Ano yung point nun? Okay, next. Yun yung point now, you let them find you. You first let them find you. And how do you do that? You create your work in your style. You put in your voice, your background, why you're doing that, why you like, I don't know, Japanese anime, why? Tell that story. Ako, basketball, kaya gumawa ako ng basketball portrait. Kayo, whatever you want, whatever your passion is, gumawa kayo ng something at ilabas ninyo. Yun yung pinakaunang thing. Kasi tayo ngayon, we're all focused on not showing anything to the world, and then we all just want to look for clients. Saan ba ako maghahanap? Saan ba ako maghahanap? Pero hindi natin iniisip, ano ba yung kailangan pwede kong gawin na ako lang, na hindi ako naghahanap, at ilalabas ko yun para mahanap nila ako, para mapuntahan nila ako, at makita nila yung work ko. Okay. Next. Yes, you need to show the world who you are, like I mentioned. Next, please. Because it's better for clients to come to you than you having to find them yourselves. It's two ways. You do the work, share it to the world, and then find clients literally. Maghanap ka. Magpunta ka sa job board, I don't know what you guys use. I'm pretty sure you all are all aware of onlinejobs.ph, upwork.com. Hindi ko yan ever nagamit sa buong timeline ko. I think tinry ko yung Upwork at na-kick out ako sa Upwork. I tried once and I got kicked out. So I don't use job sites like that. Okay? Because I have something like this where I do work so that clients can also find me. Okay, next please. Because if you've experienced this before, because the best clients are the ones that love your work and want to work with you. So there has to be proof of work. You have to put the work muna. Labas mo muna yung trabaho mo kahit wala ka pang kliyente. Ilabas mo muna. Or, mahilig ka ba mag-design ng app? Mahilig ka ba magawa ng t-shirt? Mahilig ka ba gumawa ng portrait? Mahilig ka ba sa Squid Game? Squid Game portrait work, right? Squid Game plus photography. Maybe you also want to dress up as a cosplay, right? Mix those things. So your voice, what you like, in the style that you want, will develop your own personal identity. Okay, so that is so critical in clients looking for you. Okay, next. How do they find you when you have this? This is such an important thing that people tend to forget. And I have seen thousands and thousands of portfolios over the last 20 years. And ang karamihan is wala silang website. And napakadali na po magkaroon ng website ngayon. Kasi maraming free. So if you want to get big clients, as in serious big clients, buy a domain name. It's a few hundred pesos a year, I believe. And create your name, juandelacruz.com, whatever your name is. Bilhin mo yon. At bumili ka ng email na hello or hi at juandelacruz.com. Napakalaking bagay niyan sa pagiging professional. At it is 2021 and sometimes I still see people na wala silang website. And it's just so easy na to me. It's maraming libre. No? Hindi siya cost issue. Maraming libre. I'm telling you, marami akong nakikitang website dahil sa Google Drive siya na portfolio, dahil sa Google Drive siya nilagay, hindi ko na siya tiningnan. Kasi napakahirap tingnan Google Drive nyo at bubuksan ko lahat ng mga folders ninyo at to see lahat ng project. Ano ba tong folder na to? Pagbukas mo, wala palang naman. O pagbukas mo, hindi pala yun yung nakasulat. So, if you want to work with the biggest brands, start with a website and it's so free. If you can't have a website, go with like Behance or Dribble. Okay? And then start with the passion projects. I'm going to discuss this isa-isa. Okay, let's move down. Okay, next please. Yeah, ito yung sinasabi ko, yung Adobe. Kung nagbabayad kayo ng Adobe, you have 5 free websites. Kung nagbabayad kayo ng Adobe Creative Cloud ninyo. Kung hindi, meron pong mga other websites like Portfolio Box, Card.co, Behance.net, Dribble.com. Sa Behance po ako nakita ni Nike, kaya that's such an important website. Kung wala kayo, yun, where po kaya my domain? I tried using Wix pero medyo costly. I think you need to invest in that. Kung medyo costly siya, pag-ipunan mo kasi it's such a big thing. I think as a designer, parang yung website, na yun parang meron kang phone, pinag-iipunan mo rin yung load, di ba? Bibili ka ng load or magbabayad ka sa phone. Parang basic na siya for me. And if you want to work with top brands, I'm not saying they won't work with you kung wala kang website. Pero the chances are of you working with big clients is you really have a website. A Facebook page as a portfolio, I'm not so keen on that because a lot of people around the world are not fans of Facebook. And they are on corporate accounts. Malay mo yung buong Nike sa US, bawal pala ang Facebook sa kanilang office. So, hindi na makikita yung website, yung portfolio mo. And I only see, maraming ayaw sa Facebook. Tayo sa Pilipinas lang, gusto yung Facebook. Although maraming global people on Facebook, sa atin lang yung mas talagang Facebook focus. If you want to work with the Apples, the big clients, buy a .com. That's what I'm saying. Okay, next please. So this is just a sample of yung portfolio box for portfoliobox.net na ginawa ko lang in like 5 minutes. Uploaded some work. Ang bilis. I mean, it's free. Next, please. And then there's card.co. Hindi na ako nag-mockup pero yeah, carrd.co. It's such a simple one pager. If you don't have enough work, you know, create, your voice plus your style and your work, put it up in card.co, and then you have a website that looks semi-professional. Next, please. Yeah, like I said earlier, a website is always better than a Dropbox folder or Google Drive for your main folder, a portfolio. Unless it's just one image, like um, an animation reel, for example. Okay lang yun, pero to me that's still okay. But to me, it's really a website. I've had a website since 2001 yata, 2000. So doon ako nahahanap ng mga clients. Kasi another thing there is, since if my website is being shared all around the world, or and some links and all that, nagkakaroon si Google ng nalalearn niya. I think a lot of you have heard of SEO, right? So minsan meron mga results. There was a certain time if you type in t-shirt designer, nasa top ako ng Google results. Nag-update pa ako madalas sa website ko. I don't know if it was just Philippines or globally. Kasi yung voice ko plus yung style ko, which is I do a lot of t-shirt designs, as you've seen in my Michael Jordan work kanina, in the Kevin Garnett work. Parang I guess yung website ko na parang alam ni Google, maraming t-shirt design dyan. I think you call it, it's called SEO basically. And you probably heard the term. Okay, next. Yeah. So ito yung start with passion projects. I told you the story. I started with my voice and my style, and then it landed me real jobs kasi they like that style, and obviously they like the voice because I like basketball, and Nike and Jordan brand they're also a huge basketball brand. Okay, next. Jovelyn Lau, the pool effect. Hindi ako familiar dun, but yeah, maybe we can discuss it later. Pick a social media platform and go all in. When I was starting, I really went all in on Behance. Right now, there's so many. There's Instagram, there's TikTok, there's Twitter. Alam nyo, piliin nyo lang yung isa doon tapos really commit to that. At that time, I was so committed to Behance. I posted all my projects. Projects that were client projects, projects that were personal projects. I just passion projects, post and post and post and post. Next. And that's how like I said earlier, how Nike found me. Next, please. That was the actual email they sent me. Next, please. Yeah, I told you this story. Jordan brand with my T-shirt and Manny Pacquiao. And then this one was a story of me just experimenting with calligraphy. I was using my calligraphy style on the computer, and then mixing that with sort of Persian style, but also with English words. Uh, Parang sabi ko, paano kaya I don't speak Persian, but I love their letter forms and I love their calligraphy style. So I was trying to create that in the computer. And then there was somebody in Saudi Arabia, yung client ko, na yun yung nasa gitna, yung respect, culture, and religion, client ko yun sa Saudi. Ginawa niya t-shirt kasi nakita niya, magaling siya mag-English ng pero style ng calligraphy dito sa bansa namin. So I'll hire him. And then it also landed me a job for a book design job. And it was for an Iranian American author. So it's this Persian style calligraphy, which is now Iran. He had a book that talked about his father, who turns out to be he found out was a spy. His father was a spy. And the book is called Off the Radar. Um, oh, thank you, Kathleen. Yeah, the style is very. It looks like Persian calligraphy, but using English words. And sakto dun sa kanyang book kasi it was happening in Persia or Iran, yung story niya, yung true story niya of his father, who he found out was a spy for a CIA spy, and he wanted a hidden figure behind the calligraphy. Kaya yung the figure is dark behind yung father niya, the protagonist, his father, is behind the Persian calligraphy with English words. Kasi kailangan niya ibenta sa US yung kanyang book. So, English yung ginamit namin. Next, please. This is another case of me just doing the work because I love basketball so much that I created a fake logo for Jeremy Lin, who was, if you know, he was the first Taiwanese American to ever play in the NBA. So he had such an inspiring run many years ago, and I was so inspired to create a logo for him and Nike. And then because I posted that on Behance, people started sharing it, and then sa ibang platforms din, pang mga Instagram dati. And then that's how I got to work with an agency in the US who had Nike as a client. So they were pitching, and we did some work for them. Next, please. So iba-ibang ways. Um, how do you let clients find you? You join online communities in your industry. I'm so active in many communities, Facebook communities, Twitter communities. Ngayon, there's this thing called Discord. Grabe, ang hirap, ang hirap sumali sa Discord because it's so busy. And yet I'm in a lot of Discord channels. I try to keep up, but it's really hard. But there's a lot of jobs. There's a lot of work. I join a lot of Slack communities. I also find a lot of groups there. May mga trabaho din sa Reddit, sa Facebook groups. In fairness, maraming trabaho sa Facebook groups. So if you're a t-shirt designer or if you're a copywriter, there's a lot of Facebook groups or industry groups where you can find connections. And that's how I got to work with the likes of Michael Jackson, because I was part of this online t-shirt community that where it was all about t-shirts. Lahat lang ng site niya was showcasing t-shirt designers around the world. And dun ko nakita yung isang client who was handling the merch for big names like Michael Jackson at the time. Okay, next please. So I also shared one of my client work here in the Philippines for Nike, and then posted it on a blog platform. Parang I was just promoting it and just letting all these, like places like Hypebeast or Freshness Mag, and posted it parang letting them know this is what I did in the Philippines, blah blah. And that's how I found another Nike client na nakatrabaho ko na sila before, pero nahanap na naman nila ako in another way through this blog post that I shared on a platform. So parang if I map like how I got to work with Nike, and if I answered that question with sa mga nagtatanong sa akin, siguro there are 3 to 5 different ways that I had worked with Nike, and not all of them were connected to each other. So if that can happen to somebody like me na iba-ibang ways ako makakapasok sa kanila, kasi it's such a big company, it's a global company, that yeah, it's really possible. Parang mahirap na hindi mo sila maka-work. Yun na nga yung idea. Parang the thinking is, if you share your work, you create your voice, you put in your voice into your work and style, and form your identity online with your work and share it. All these big brands that you want, you will be able to work with them as long as the work that you put out is related to their business. Okay, next. Okay, let the clients find you. Join industry events. When whenever I get invited to talks like this, I say yes. Whenever I get invited to help judge local competitions in school or in class, I say yes. Because those are opportunities to meet people, to meet young people, and also people who have been in the industry for a long time. And that's how I met a creative, an executive creative director. His name is Eric Cruz. He used to work in Japan for Wyden Kennedy, or was it yeah, in Japan, and then he was executive creative director in Malaysia, and then he became the executive creative director of AKQA in Shanghai, and they happen to have Nike as a client. And so, yun, that's how I got to work with Nike in Shanghai, because I met somebody at an industry event. Alam ko ngayon medyo mahirap to join events kasi that's what's happening. Pero things like this, like being in this is also an opportunity to network. Next, please. Okay, that's it for finding jobs. Um, Here's a specific example of how I looked for work during this time of the pandemic, uh, using LinkedIn and Twitter. Kasi alam niyo, um, I've been in the industry, like I said, for 12 years. Ang problema is, like I said earlier, no, there's no such thing as a job security. That is a lie, essentially. So don't believe at all, like, ka-graduate ko, magtatrabaho ako para magka-job security. There is no truth in that. So last year, because of the pandemic, I lost a major client. And this client I had been working with for about maybe 8 or 9 years na. Siya yung essentially bumubuhay ng aking freelance career, ng aking client. Yun yung problema natin, di ba? How to find clients. And this was my biggest client. And ang nangyari is para siya naging job kasi siya na yung major. Tapos, nawala siya sa akin dahil sabi niya, yung business niya is they were selling designs for t-shirts to companies like Gap, Children's Place, like brands in the US na lahat sila may mga mall stores. Nagsara yung malls. Nalugi ngayon yung mga maraming companies. So yung client ko sabi niya, teka, stop muna tayo sa work natin. So that really was a devastating blow to somebody like myself who was working with them for the last 9 years. So I had to apply the things I know now, and I've learned for the last 12 years. And since I was like not as active in promoting my voice and my style and showcasing my identity on social media and all that, I had to find a way naman. Paano ako maging aggressive at maghanap? Paano ako ngayon maghanap ng work? Kasi napilitan ako maghanap. Kasi hindi ako pwede maghintay. Gawa ako ng trabaho. While I was doing that, doing work, passion projects, and sharing it, I was also aggressively looking. Sabay. So, kaya ako hindi nawawalan ng client kasi some people know me for the work that I do in my industry. And then I also actively and aggressively looking. I'm also knocking on doors. I'm also emailing and using LinkedIn and Twitter. So LinkedIn, here's a simple trick that I use. And let's proceed. Ito yung nahanap ko. I actually used Twitter on this, or LinkedIn, or both. So during the pandemic, I had lost a client, and I was aggressively looking for work. Ang isa kong unang nahanap is Adobe was giving out grants for people like myself and us na nahirapan sa pandemic at walang projects. So I emailed them. I applied to 3 grants during this pandemic, and I said I lost a big client, and this is my work, and this is my situation, and this is what I want. I hope you can fund this idea. And they rejected me, and then I applied again. the second time, and I got accepted. Two other companies I applied to gave like $500 each for a commission. Kasi they were helping people like myself na nawalan ng work or nawalan ng clients during the pandemic. So, so parang quickly, by being aggressive and looking for it on Twitter and LinkedIn, I found these three opportunities immediately. And the Adobe one, they were giving out funds were worth 1,000 to 5,000 US dollars. So imagine if I had lost my job, like all these grants that were coming in were so huge in helping us. Parang tumawid, parang pampatawid to find a new client. So, kasi I was actively looking. Next. So, how do I do that on Twitter? So, if you go to Twitter, when I created this, I if you type in looking into the search bar, ang dami naghahanap ng artist. Yan na agad yung lalabas, oh, looking for artist, looking for an artist, looking for an artist to commission. Okay, so baka merong isa dyan ang hinahanap niya anime style of Squid Game, di ba? That could be you. Or it could be an illustration that they need for a basketball player, right? So if you go to Twitter, you're gonna find so much work over there at this time. As in, that is probably one of the best ways to find work. So just type in the search bar and type looking for artist, looking for designer, hiring artist, hiring designer. Next, please. Jeliza Calzado. I don't know if I read your name correctly, but she said, I closed two clients now by doing that on Twitter. Exactly. When I was doing this presentation, I was searching and I found a client. I saw a lead, a client lead. I've been searching for character designers to potentially hire and want to share some things I've discovered that may be of use to artists who rely on randos like me, finding and hiring them online, a thread. Parang tawang-tawa ako nung makita ko to kasi I was making a presentation on how to find work on Twitter, and then I found this guy who's exactly teaching people like us how to find work on Twitter. As in, I'm telling you guys, if you're not using Twitter as a job lead creation tool, as a creative, as a designer, then you're missing out a lot of clients. Okay, next. Type nyo yan. Type nyo hiring designer. Type nyo looking designer. Type nyo remote designer. Yung remote designer na yan is how I found a couple of clients na they're still clients of mine after a year. Marami pong trabaho sa mga ganyan. Pag tinype nyo yan. And I'm happy to hear I'm not the only one. Si Jeliza Calzado, sabi niya, ganyan din strategy niya. Okay, next please. And that's how I sort of approached this person. Mahilig ako sa basketball. So I follow a lot of players. His name is, he's quite big in the 80s and 90s. His name is Dominic Wilkins. At ito siya, magaling siya mag-dunk. So, fina-follow ko siya at minessage ko siya kasi ito yung next slide. Kasi nag-post siya ng t-shirt, right? Parang, dunk on the world, don't let the world dunk on you. I can't read my own. Rep the quote at, he was essentially promoting his shirt. And then I replied to him, sabi ko, nice. You need to come up with more teas. I can help. I took my shot and replied to a tweet of an NBA star, not thinking he would respond. I'm sure hindi siya ito. I'm sure it's the social media manager. And then he said, let's do it. And then I'm like, what? Okay. And then I said, damn, Nick, how do I reach you or your team? And then he said, send an email to, there's the email address. So parang with one tweet, I had the direct link to the social media manager or maybe the NBA star himself. Who knows? Could have been an assistant. I did email them. Unfortunately, nobody responded. But still, sometimes opportunities are a tweet away. So shoot your shot, and And then, you know, you never know what happens. You never know what will happen. Next. Okay, so this is LinkedIn. This is the story. I posted this on LinkedIn, and people have how I use LinkedIn. Essentially, I post my work. I share my dati Behance and social and ano and Instagram and LinkedIn na ang bagong way to promote yourself as a designer. If you don't use LinkedIn and Twitter as a designer, a creative, or an online Filipino worker, you are missing out. Okay, so there's a little story. I had a former client. I added him a while back on Twitter, and then I shared a post of mine. And then ni-like niya. Ni-like niya yung ano ko, yung post ko. I think it was about, again, a basketball design or something sports related. And then somebody who was the connection of my client was the CEO pala of of a company that I've always wanted to work with. They're called Represent.com. They design T-shirts for a lot of celebrities, like yung Friends. Naglabas sila ng Friends merch collection. Naglabas sila ng collection ng some K-pop stars. I think naglabas na sila ng mga BTS, ganyan, mga merch. Represent.com, they're pretty big. And then I've been emailing them from before pa. Hindi nila ako pinapansin. And because of this like from a contact, a colleague of mine, former client, na like lang yung post ko, nakita ngayon yun ng CEO ng Represent. At sabi niya, you know, I saw that my colleague liked one of your posts and I checked out your work and I checked out your portfolio, your website. Okay, again, guys, it goes to your website. I checked out your website and I really like your work and I want to work with you. Sabi ni Bea, there are also community groups on LinkedIn. See, Bea, you need to teach me that. I don't know how to use the community groups. I just post on the main feed. So, itong gusto kong trabahuin ng tinatry ko ng matagal ng ini-email at pinapadala yung work ko. Hindi sila nagre-respond sa akin until a colleague of theirs who was a former client liked one of my posts. So, yung connection ng LinkedIn is so powerful. It's really so powerful that you are totally missing out on work if you are not using LinkedIn and Twitter. Next. And that's how I got to work with the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers because they were representing him and they wanted me to create some t-shirts for him. Yan. I-google niyo siya. Ano ang pangalan nga nito? Si Garoppolo. I forgot his first name. Basta he's the quarterback of San Francisco 49ers. Okay, next. And that's also how I got to work with one of the really nice shows that I liked recently, last year, a couple of years na ba? A couple of seasons. Cobra Kai. Kasi I'm an 80s kid. I grew up on Karate Kid, so pinapanood namin tong Cobra Kai. And sila rin yung company, yung Represent. That's how I got to design for this oh God, what's his character's name again? If you can answer that on the comments, mayroon kang plus para magkaroon ng free na workshop sa akin. I forget his name. Anyway, some characters sa Cobra Kai. So, again, yung mga things na LinkedIn, nakaka-connect din pala siya sa things that you love, things that you're really passionate about. Okay, next please. And here's also a trick that I use on LinkedIn. So apart from posting work on LinkedIn, I also respond to people that add me. And this is something that you can swipe and take. This was something that I also just stole from somebody who messaged it to me. And I've been using it for the longest time. I use it all on all the people that add me on LinkedIn na parang feeling ko client sila. Then I will reply to them with this message. Screenshot nyo to, gayahin nyo to, but the the most important part of this line is the one in highlighted in yellow. So whenever somebody adds me on LinkedIn, I look at their profile. Uy, CEO. Uy, creative director. Uy, art director. Uy, senior designer. Uy, design director. Uy, HR head of ganyan-ganyan. Uy, recruitment officer. Nako, alam ano to, naghahanap to ng designer or creative person. So I always reply. So this is what I say. Thanks for adding me. I try to connect with each person on my network and would love to know what sparked this connection. Parang nung sinabi to sa akin nung somebody, kinopya ko lang to. Nung sinabi niya to sa akin, sabi ko, ang galing nito ah. Gusto ko ngayon makita yung profile niya. Bakit ko nga ba inad tong tao na to? So I looked at their profile and okay, I wanted to connect with them, blah blah blah. And I responded. Actually designer din siya and ano siya, creative director or something. But I was really taken aback by that line that I started to use it in all the, the people that connected with me on LinkedIn and replied to them. So say it's a free DM. You can't really DM people on Twitter, on Instagram if they don't follow you, right? But if they follow you on LinkedIn, you can reply to them. So I try to do this every time. And those are quite good leads for jobs or work or whatnot, or just industry connections. Okay, so next. So when I did this last year, again, remember I had lost a big client. Because of LinkedIn and Twitter, it essentially saved me from a lot of headache and a lot of problems because I lost a big client, and so I had to look for work through LinkedIn and Twitter. And this client of mine that I found on LinkedIn, because I had replied to him with that exact message that I showed there that you can steal. Uh, it started a conversation. Sabi niya, parang, yeah, I'm always on the lookout for talented designers in the Philippines, blah, blah, blah. Nag-usap kami, uh, nag-interview, tapos nakilala niya ako. It took a while. Tapos yung resulta nun is, nagha, itong 70 designer hires, parang 19 na yata ngayon eh, that I had to hire here in the Philippines. Dahil nung nag-spark ng initial connection na yon. So, tinutulungan ko yung mga ibang designer din dito sa atin. Kasi, hindi ko naman kaya trabaho ng 17 people. So, I have my role as, like a team lead of sorts. But I'm really just helping a lot of these companies find more talent here in the Philippines. Kasi, yung mga sakto na hanap ko, um, kailangan nila ng better pay, they need a higher salary, or they're moving up from a junior role na matagal na, or senior na sila but they were still earning a really low salary. And these salaries are, not bad for somebody who has 2 to 3 years of experience, maybe less than 5 years of experience, to be able to get 50K to 75K a month is not bad at all. I mean, for a young designer. So for a senior, you will make so much more, obviously, even with big clients. Um, so, yun, I had to look for, naghahanap ako kung saan. Kaya kung meron kayong mga trabaho dyan, naghahanap kayo ng work, i-PM nyo ako. Okay lang sa Facebook, sabihin nyo, I listen to your talk, I'm an illustrator, I'm a graphic designer, I'm a copywriter, I'm a social media manager. Naghahanap po ako lahat niyan. Naghahanap ako ng sobrang sobrang pong daming trabaho. Parang na po akong recruiter. So, I should officially be a recruiter and I should be paid for that. But I do it to help people. So if you want to message me your portfolio on Facebook, it's okay. Or I'll send you my email also later or Instagram, wherever. Okay? So, marami pa kaming i-hire sa company na yan. Okay, next. Next, please. Next slide. So let's go to pricing. So it's about 625 right now. We still have about 35 minutes. I'm just gonna run through this quickly and then answer questions after that. Yun lang yung paano ba maghanap ng work, no? So pinakita ko sa inyo, magsimula tayo sa voice plus style and identity. Ilabas mo yun, ilabas nyo yung kung sino kayo. Kung sino kayo sa field ninyo, kung writer kayo, kung photographer kayo, ilabas nyo yung personal take nyo on things and then share it to the world. I'm telling you, it will be such a powerful thing. And then next is, kung meron lang kayong dalawang ways na maghanap ng trabaho, make it Twitter and make it LinkedIn. Yun lang ang ginamit ko last year. I don't even use any of the job sites. There's also pala Behance and also Dribble.com. That's Behance.net is how I found Nike, how Nike found me. And then there's Dribble.com. So last year, LinkedIn and Twitter is the major parang lifesaver sa akin ng pandemic. Okay, sabi ni Glenn, currently registering sa LinkedIn while listening. Very good, Glenn. You're on your way to finding new clients. Make sure you have a nice profile. Ayusin mo yung profile mo and your experience. Okay, so hinga lang ako ng konti. Let's look at pricing. Pricing ngayon is parang, sige, naghahanap ka ng client. Ano ba yung mga presyo nitong mga clients abroad? Okay, next please, next slide. Yung mindset muna. Karamihan dito, kung ano yung naisip mong price mo, yun na yun. Yun yung value mo. Kung gusto mo, believe me, I've had people ask me about price. Kunyari, sinabi ko, ito i-charge mo. Tapos sasabihin nila, ay, ayoko masyadong mataas. Parang sino yung magre-reklamo? Ba't ka magre-reklamo masyadong mataas yung, yung value na tingin ko dapat yun ang sinacharge mo? Parang that's so counterintuitive. So if you believe your value is just this low, yun lang talaga makukuha mo. If you believe that all your projects are 500 peso logos or 5,000 peso, websites. If yun yung gusto mong value ng work that you do, then you will get that. You will definitely get that. So if you think you are worth more, you will get more. If you think you should be charging, logo na lang paglabanan natin kasi the biggest question in the world in the Philippines, anong presyo ng design ng logo? Meron pang logo worth 500 pesos. Yung iba nga load lang eh. Merong 5,000. Merong iba 50,000. Merong iba 500,000. Merong iba 5 million for a logo. Merong iba 50 million. So, pesos. So, I'm sure kasama na doon yung hindi lang yung logo. A lot of the other things are involved. Pero hindi ko alam kung merong isang tao na isang logo lang 50 million pesos. Hindi ko alam kung meron. Pero 50 million clients here pay that much for brand identity, for logos and all that. Mga big companies here, they pay that. But they hire companies from abroad. Okay, so it's really personal. So where are you in that price point? Saan mo ilalagay sarili mo is where you will get the work. Okay, pricing is different per client. I'll show you some samples of how I price. Price with the end goal in mind. Always set your goals. What do you need to survive on every month? Then you have to create pricing around that. You can't survive if you can survive on kunyari nakatira ka sa parents mo at you only pay kunyari kailangan mo 5,000 pesos a month kasi you need to pay for some bills in the house, your own internet and all that, and you charge 500 pesos a logo, then you need what, 10 logo clients every month to reach 5,000. Ganon yung ibig sabihin ko. Or you can charge 5,000 a logo, so all you need is one logo every month. So that's what I mean by goal setting. Okay, pricing standards versus no standards. Wala pong this standards. This is a given. This is a market-driven industry. So Kung merong magbabayad ng 500 a logo, meron ding hihingi nun. Meron din magbabayad ng 50,000 for a logo, meron ding makakatanggap nun. Marami rin nagbabayad ng 500K for a logo, marami rin nakakakuha nun. So, kung saan ka, wala pong standards. You cannot create standards in this industry. Maglaro ka doon sa kung saan ka. I remember my boss back in the day in 2001 or 2002. So 20 years ago, tinanong siya ng client namin. Sabi niya, oh, how much, parang siya lang to, personal lang, hindi client pala niya. Sabi, how much for a logo? Tapos sabi niya parang with a straight face, 75,000 pesos. Sabi niya. 20 years ago, 75,000 for a logo was pretty not bad, right? Ngayon nga, I don't know if there are a lot of people who charge that for a logo, 75K. There are more who charge more than that, obviously. There's a lot of people who charge way, way below than that. But that was 20 years ago. And then he was just so clear about what his worth was and how much he was charging a logo. Kumagat yung client. Sabi niya, okay. Kasi he believed that was the value of what he was giving. And sobra akong ever since, parang ganun pala yun. And sometimes it's just how much you believe in your value and your worth that you can set it. You can set your own price. So and then task versus time, day job versus hourly clients. We're gonna talk about that. And then input versus output. Kasi lahat tayo nandito tayo sa time. We think about time. We exchange our time for money. And then we think about the input, what we put in, we exchange that for money. Yes, Axel Joseph, I need to project pala what I am worth. You absolutely can project what you are worth, what you believe you are worth. And also look at the industry. Parang I told you there's a 5,000 client, there's a 50,000 client, there's a 500,000 client. Also be realistic about can you compete with the 500,000 studios or designers who would charge 500,000 for the logo? If you can compete with them head to head, then by all means, dun ka lumaban. Okay, so ako naman, mag-start lang ako dun muna sa mas mura, pataas. Pero hindi ako ever dun sa kailangan bumaba ako kasi ayoko na mataas. Okay, next slide please. Okay, ano ba yung money pricing models? Sige, let's just show the table next please. Ito yung money pricing models that I've used in the whole parang my freelance career. A lot of clients are different, and each client there's a different pricing strategy. Okay, so marami nagsasabi, lahat tayo dito, we sell our time on the left. Kaya maraming clients sa ibang bansa, bibilin nila yung time ninyo, which is parang a trap to me. If they say, I want to pay you $3 an hour or $4 an hour. So ang pinaka-cap mo lang doon would be, if you work 160 hours a month, parang 20 plus thousand pesos lang yun. So kinap mo na yung sarili mo, parang binigyan mo na agad ng limit yung sarili mo kasi you cannot create more hours in a day, right? Or in a month. So ang ginagawa ng tao, next please, next slide. The next slide please, let's just skip this one. Yeah, the next slide. I want to be able to, yeah. So all they do is they put themselves in one corner of pricing, which is, bibenta ko lang yung oras ko, right? And then, sabi nga ni Warren Buffett is one of, I guess if you've heard of him, one of the, they call the greatest investors. Never rely on a single source of income. Yun yung sinasabi ko. Never sell your time for money and just one client who owns all your time. Okay, yun yung, it's just the riskiest thing you can do. And we all know that because of the pandemic. Next, please. ito yung gusto ko ipakita. So, ang ginagawa natin is we go through our whole lives. They were teaching us. We move from one job to the next, and then you retire, and then you enjoy your life. So parang ito yung inisip ng tao, you can just sell your time and just move on to the next, so that sell your time for more, right? So it may have worked for the past, because I think a lot of the jobs there were quote unquote more secure, pero now you cannot rely on this. So what I suggest is create projects and have clients that have all these different ways for you to get paid, whether it's project based, whether it's package based, whether it's retainer based, whether it's royalty based, whether it's subscription based, or whether it's equity. Yung project based, magkano ba magpagawa ng logo? Okay, yun ang project. Ano yung package based? Magkano magpagawa ng logo tsaka website? Okay, then you can price a website and a logo. That's your package. Ano yung retainer? Okay, there are clients na, AJ, I always need logos every month, and I also need websites for my clients every month. Can I put you on retainer? Can I pay you every month to create these logos plus websites? In my case, AJ, can I put you on retainer to create t-shirt designs on a monthly basis? Okay, and then yung royalties is, okay, if I create t-shirts for you on a monthly basis, maybe can you give me a cut on each of the shirts that I sell of my own designs? So that's another way to get paid, is to ask for royalties. And it's absolutely okay to bring that up if you have a relationship with that client. Or if the format of that client or their business is really royalty based, right? So maraming businesses na ganun. And then yung subscription is if you sell a service, like if you're a coach, subscribe to my online coaching subscription every month. I give you free 4 sessions, blah blah blah. And then yung equity is when you can get a client to partner with you, or for you to partner with them in their business. So I have a share of I have equity in a company from a client that was a startup and said, AJ, we want to hire you, but we can't afford your rates at this point because we're just a startup. So sabi ko, okay, na-mention ko na I was open to equity. Then so they offered me part of the company, and they said, okay, then we give you part of the company. So as we grow, you will make money as the business grows. So since wala silang upfront payment, um, my the benefit there is that eventually I can make money off the business. Okay, so next please. So marami akong ganon. Like I said earlier, marami nagbebenta sa atin ng time-based. Binibenta lang nila $3 an hour, yung time nila. Nakakap sila dun sa 20 plus thousand pesos. So ang ginagawa nila, bibenta ko pa yung iba kang oras. Hindi ako matutulog. So magna-night shift ako. So sisirain nila yung health nila para makakuha ng isa pang client na $4 an hour naman. Right? So pero yung cap nila sa business sa ano nila is uh, na na-affect yung health nila, pero yung cap nila will be about 40 plus thousand or 50K kasi maghahanap ng client na mabibenta nila yung oras nila, which is I think, not sustainable. Although a lot of people do this here, I don't think it's sustainable on your health and on your income. So yung iba nga, hinahire na nila yung pinapagawa nila sa spouse nila and all that. So, kasi yung thinking nila is, bibenta ko lang yung oras ko. So I need more people to do the work instead of thinking about retainers, packages, royalties, subscriptions, and equity. Okay, next. Yeah, next please. Let's just go through this. This is like my clients. This is a setup that I've done where I've had 3 clients that were on retainer: client A, client B, and client C. They all have a monthly retainer. Sabi nila, well, you do this every month, and then we pay you a certain amount. Remember, I don't have my time anymore. There's no time based here. Um, client. No, I don't sell my time. So that's why I can have multiple clients. So ang ginawa ko is, since I'm on retainer on this A, B, and C, nag-hire ako ngayon ng tao that can help out in the projects. Kasi yung ibang tao, as ibang designer, they want a more fixed income every month. So I told them, sige, I'll pay you a retainer also every month for you to design for me. And then in return, they also create work for me. But I also don't employ them, and I tell them, because they also have their other businesses. Meron silang other, yung isa tattoo artist, ngayon he's on his own now, but he was a tattoo artist. So he also had his own business. And then he was also on retainer under me, working as my designer. So yun, next please. So the whole idea is to create multiple income streams. Tapos yung itong isang mention ko earlier, yung income stream niya is nagki-create lang siya ng multiple packages. Nagki-create siya, kunyari, 10 designs, I sell 10 t-shirt designs for, kunyari, 1,500 or 500 to $1,000 for 10 designs. So naghanap siya ng multiple clients na ganun. Eh kaso sa sobrang dami na ng clients na binabayaran siya every time ng package na yan, he had to hire around 35 employees. So that was his model. So now, parang, yeah, he's just making so much with his package projects that he had to hire so many other people. Next, please. Ito naman yung isa kong dalawa ko sa kakilala ko. They're just their whole business and design for earning their income is because they remove time based. They found all these platforms that were selling, that were paying them in royalties for their t-shirt designs. So they joined all these companies. So every time a t-shirt is sold, they get some cut. They get royalties on the t-shirts that they sell. So, and they could sustain themselves from $5,000 to $10,000 a month is what they earn just by designing their own shirts. And if you uh, if you will find their work, a lot of their work is my initial formula of voice plus style equals identity. So they created their own style and their own voice in their work. So nagiging kilala sila dito sa mga places na to where these places are selling t-shirts or Redbubble, like they're selling all these, you can print your art on uh, I don't know, on clocks, on shower curtains and all that. So lahat yun, all these websites that they're part of, pay them around almost half a million, up to half a million a month pesos. So ang laki ng income streams nila kasi hindi nila binenta yung time nila. Next. So ito, last ano na, is like, parang how do you sustain work, no? Kasi marami ka ng different clients with different pricing methods. So how do you build this into a business? So think about it as a layer cake. Actually, this is the last couple of slides. So if you next slide, please. So you put your clients in the bottom that are retainer clients. Ito yung mga I put time or project-based clients there, pero ang pinaka-important dito yung retainer clients. What I mean by that is yung mga clients mo that pay you on a monthly basis, but they don't own your time. They just give you a retainer every month, parang siyang sweldo. Pero you provide them with an output, whether it's um, you know uh, 50 logos a month, for example. There are some clients who are like that, 50 logos or 10 logos a day. Medyo marami masyado yun, pero may mga nagsusurvive naman doon, pero it's not sustainable. Pero something you can do every month that you can be paid for without selling your time. If you cannot avoid time on a retainer, then sell 10 hours a week, or 20 hours a week at the most to a certain client, and they pay you for basically 20 times 4 is 80 hours a month. So pwede yun. So your retainer clients are what will tide you over whenever there's a problem in you lose some clients, no? So sila sana yung parating nandyan sa baba, to support you, to support your family. It pays the bills. So if you can see there, it's regular work but possibly cheaper, and it pays the bills. So yung mga one-off clients, ito yung good price but less regular work. I talked about represent earlier. They don't have projects every month, but when they have projects, they pay really well. And then yung meron yung pinaka prestige clients, ito yung pays well and they're big brands. Ito yung mga Nike, ito yung mga Jordan brand, mga NBA. Hindi siya masyado madalas, pero um, malaki siya. It's probably the focus of your work in your portfolio. So yung retainer clients mo, it supports you, it pays for the bills, and then your one-off projects in the middle, and then your prestige clients on top. Sila yung the best of the best is on top of your cake. So parang you can always have a cake, hindi ka mauubusan, hindi ka magugutom, right? So kahit ubos na yung mga nasa taas mo, nasa top layer mo, meron ka parating sa baba that will support you and yourself and your family. So yun, I know that's a lot to try to yeah, it's a lot to digest, but I hope it helped you guys. And next slide, please. Yeah, just making sure that's yeah. So this is what I'm offering. After we let's do the Q&A first. Let's do the Q&A. If there are any questions, um, yeah, from the audience. Yun, daming questions. Okay. Joey, okay, Joey posted it. Can you tell me who was asking? Okay, okay. I guess this is a question that a lot of people are asking before. More and more people have decided to go freelance. What do you think this means for the creative sector? What does this represent in terms of the current job economy? Um, I think a lot of people are realizing that you don't need um, one job to be able to survive. What you can have is a lot of clients that you can work with, and that don't buy your time essentially. And parang feeling ko lahat ng traditional corporations are realizing that people can be effective pala wherever they are, whether they're from home, working from home, whether they're working in the beach or somewhere around the world. There is such a deluge of opportunity out there for companies that hire people that ewan ko na lang kung hindi ka makahanap ng client in this time, right? In this time, it's sobra talagang daming trabaho. Sobra. And it's not just local, and it's global. The only issue that I see here is that baka magsialisan yung mga local designers sa local studios that can't pay a lot. Um, Yun lang ang nakikita ko doon. Kasi a lot of the agencies, studios, companies that I see around the world, they're hiring in the Philippines, and it's magiging medyo kawawa lang si local kung hindi siya makakapagbayad ng kasing taas ng global companies. Okay. Question. You've created a portfolio that serves both local and international clients. What are the difference between working for those two kinds of clients? In my experience, um, the local clients that I like are also the ones that like my work first. Pero meron ding local clients that are parang that I work with may similarities. Like a lot of them locally parang think, wow, ang bakit ang taas mo mag-charge? Parang ganun. Tapos parang ako, bakit? Nakita mo na ba yung portfolio ko? Hindi, I don't say that outright. Pero parang maraming hindi naniniwala that you can charge that for a good rate. And parang sila pa yung parang galit pa sila na you charge good rates and competitive rates and parang minsan sinesmall ka nila na parang why will you charge that much? Blah blah blah. Parang I've heard that from global clients as well. Pero marami akong global clients na kahit kung ano yung rate mo, they'll really work with you kasi they really want to work with you. Okay? Question 3. Online workers are dealing with communication barriers on a daily basis. How do you properly communicate design language to your clients who lack understanding in terms of design thinking? That's a very tough question. That's also something that I try to um, I battle with all the time. There's one example of that where a client of mine taught me actually to do those things, to handle situations like this. Ang client ko nagsabi nun, sabi niya, you know, at tinuturuan niya yung kaopisina niya. Kasi ako, we were an agency and they were the client. And then one of the colleagues of the boss, yung client namin, siya yung pinaka-boss. Isang junior employee was saying, ay, ayoko yung colors, ay, ayoko yung fonts, gusto ko pink, ganon. Parang she was commenting on the work based on her own personal interests. And then the client said, alam mo, parang iha pa nga, alam mo, ano, parang if you create, we don't judge the work based on our own personal preferences. We judge the work on what we agreed on strategically and what the brief was. So if there's a way to say that to a client, I don't know what the best way to say that is. I would probably say, okay, I think we need to avoid or let's try to move the conversation away from our own personal preferences of the design, and then let's go back to the brief and let's go back to what we agreed on strategically. So that way we can have something to um, build upon instead of a personal preference, because everybody's personal preference is different and it's subjective. So if there's a way to, if yeah, I guess that's a good way to say that to a client, na maibalik niyo yung conversation into a strategic decision rather than hindi nila kasi alam yung design or yung design thinking, kaya they just make decisions. Ay, ayoko yung color, ayoko yung font na yan, ganun. So that's why it's also important to have a brief. You have to have a strategic brief that you've agreed upon before you created the work. So this is a very deep conversation and a whole talk altogether. Okay, so I hope that answers your questions, Jerome. JD, what tips or advice can you give for someone come from customer service industry and transitioning to creative as a graphic designer? JD, like I said earlier, create a portfolio, put out your work. Kung wala ka pang client, your voice, your style is equal to work. And all the body of work will create your identity. So first create your passion projects and start with projects that you like. Okay. Someone who took a course na Malaya sa arts and design, what are your advice and tips for career shifters aside from doing passion projects? Yeah, passion projects is key, and then look for the work. Yung passion projects mo kasi it means it's not like a real project or a real client yet. So if you're just transitioning, then you have to fill your portfolio with maybe half passion projects and half real client work. So it's the next step is naturally find work that is a real find real clients and real work. That could also be mean it's an uncle that has a shoe business or a restaurant or something, or an aunt who has a clothing line, for example. then start doing work for these people and hopefully building your portfolio. Your portfolio is really your proof that you can do things, more than your education, more than your CV. It's your portfolio. Okay, is it advisable to dive right into freelancing even without actual work experience? Since freelancers, especially the new ones, to have a good reputation before they get a client. Um, I wouldn't dive straight into freelancing. I would do that only if there's enough work that's coming in. That's why I think if you have a day job first, then I think you're gonna have to work at nights, work at during weekends, and then do freelancing on the side until you believe that your freelancing work is surpassing your current salary, and then the pipeline of the work is there so that you can just take the leap and leave the current situation. In presenting from Louis Tupas, presenting design proposals for prospect clients, how many should you prepare to get higher chance of getting the project? I think that's a very subjective question because different clients have different requirements. There are some big name logo and brand identity firms. They only show one option. It's basically a take or leave it option. Um, yeah, if you're good enough, you believe that you have one design execution to their brief, then you can do that. Um, Ako personally, I usually do a couple of options before I do, for example, a logo. Before I go to the actual logo work, I present them with 3 to 4 directions. Yung directions, parang, uy, approve niyo muna yung directions ko bago tayo gumawa ng logo. So wala pa siyang actual design work. It's just, these are my ideas. These are what I'm thinking. So a lot of people call them mood boards or stylescapes. It's what they call them before I proceed to actual work. When it comes, Alicia, when it comes to having clients that seem to undervalue your services, how do you break out of the rut having to work for less than what you think your work is valued? Alam mo, that's the most difficult thing, and I've been there before. Um, but in my way that I used to do it, which was pretty wrong, and a lot of us do it, is to ghost clients. And when at a young age, I was guilty of that, and it's probably the worst way to to fire a client because we don't know how. We don't know how to say, I don't think this is working. I don't think this is the right fit for us. Here's the money back. Sometimes I think I've done that. Here's your deposit. I'm returning it, and hopefully, maybe in the future we can work again. So this, I think, that's the best way to do it. Um, um, if it's a client na you feel you need that money at that point, I know it's so hard to give that up. Maybe at that point you finish it and give them what they want, and then you have to cut it somewhere. You have to cut. You can't let clients that you can't work with, it doesn't work for you, be a continuous client. You really need to cut the cord, and lose the client in a good way. Wag niyo lang siyang i-ghost. Okay. Do you have any tips for negotiating with potential clients? Um, when I negotiate, usually when it comes from a place of them finding me, yun yung pinaka best way to negotiate because they're the ones who approached you. That's why nga sobrang important yung ikaw yung sila yung naghahanap talaga sa iyo kasi you're at an advantage when they're the ones who trying to work with you, and you can set the tone for pricing and budget, and you can be bold about, oh, this is how much I price, blah blah blah, kasi sila yung gusto mag-work sa'yo eh. So that's why it's so important. Voice plus style equals identity. Let clients find you, let them come to you. So when it comes to negotiating like this, you are at a more powerful level. Um, my issue with negotiating with clients when you are the one trying to win them is that parang may, I think aabot sa point na lugi ka and then you start resenting them, then you start resenting the project kasi imbis na kunyari yung price mo for a logo is kunyari 10K, kunyari lang, or 100,000 pesos is what you design for a logo for, and then they said, AJ, pwede bang 15,000 na lang or 10,000 na lang kasi we'll give you more work next time. That's a trap pala. That's a false notion. So kinagat mo yung 10K kasi kailangan mo na yung project. Pero you end up hating the work, you end up hating the client and all that. Sa akin, I might as well not take it. Then be resentful. Kasi parang yung design mo, hindi ka rin ganado kung hindi ka masaya sa ginagawa. Francis Lim, hi Sir G, I want to ask if there's an opportunity to a traditional artist who want to work as a graphic designer with a small background on Photoshop and other apps. Yes, there is. You can become, again, before ang alam ko lang Photoshop, akala ko designer na ako. So kung kaya ko gawin yun at matuto ng design, you can definitely, if you are a traditional painter or artist or illustrator, meron ka ng advantage. And all you need to do at that point is really upskill and learn the tools and learn the basics of design. How do you manage your time between family, work, and one time knowing that freelance work is not a regular name? Like I said, Axel, no, I don't sell my time. So whenever there's when I was freelancing very heavily and then nanganak yung wife ko, parang because I was freelancing, I was able to manage growing a family. Kasi I didn't sell my time. I didn't sell hours of my days. I sold projects. I sold retainers and said, I can deliver this much to you every month. Pero yung misis ko mga anak. Pero hindi siya kada oras nagtatanong, asan na yung design, asan na yung design. Walang ganun. So that's how I was able to grow my business kasi tinanggal ko na yung notion ng ever that yung oras mo magiging empleyado ka na kada oras may bantay sa'yo. So that's how I'm able to manage. Okay. As a parent yourself, what's your advice to other parents for their kids taking up or wanting a design career? My advice is that ang dream ko nga is that sana yung mga parents na Filipino sabihin na, anak, mag-designer ka na lang kasi maraming opportunity doon. Yan ang dream ko. So my advice ko is yes, let them pursue design, let them pursue creative fields, because I'm a believer in my heart of hearts that the Filipino is the most creative person in the world, because of our own experiences and what we've been through. If you go all over the world, and you will see it all in all industries, globally, there is a Filipino creative that is running something behind the scenes. Not just in front of the scenes, whether it's in theater or acting or sport or whatever, or dance or whatever. There's also a Filipino behind these very, very successful businesses. So there's no better time than right now to pursue a career in creatives in design in particular. Okay. Okay. Anything else? I think we're good now, guys. I don't see any more questions. Last question. Okay, this last question. I also, yung pinaramis ko pala, guys, na 4 sessions na you just PM me here on Facebook, AJ Dimarucot, or or email me at hello@ajdimarucot.com, or just Google me. You'll find where to find me, whether it's on LinkedIn or on Twitter or on Instagram or on Facebook. Tell me why you need my help so that I can give you a 4-week, 4-session coaching and mentoring um, sessions. Yeah. So last question: what do you think Filipino designers and creatives have over their international counterparts? Ako kasi magaling tayo talaga sa um, magaling tayo kapag nako-constrain yung ating isang problem. Parang we always find a way. Parang I feel that is such a unique point of view, and in a unique, I'm not saying all Filipinos have to go through that, but in a general sense, that's what I feel. Parang yung our DNAs were parang dihado eh. Parang nadihado tayo parate. Um, Kaya parang we can make the best of what is given to us. And technically, a creative problem is essentially being having so much constraints into a problem and trying to create something from those constraints. And I feel like we are just so naturally attuned to be able to solve, things like that. I don't know if it's in our blood, it's in our DNA, it's in our um, thinking, in our mindset, that we can work it out and we can make something happen. And I feel like that is at the heart of what creativity is about, and solving problems through design. So, and I feel that's why Filipinos have such a unique perspective and unique point of view, that we thrive in creative fields. So, yun, that's why I'm a big believer of the Filipino, and a big believer of our dreams, and our role on the global stage. And it is really on our part to claim that and say, oo nga no, magaling nga tayo, and ikaw mismo, and nakikinig ka, oh magaling ka, and you can achieve all these. I am nobody, I'm a dropout, and I can work with all the global brands that I like, because I believe in my own capability, and I believe that I can do it. So, yun. Kaya naka-work ko talaga si Nike, kasi just do it lang yung mentality ko. Yun. So, I hope that answers your question. Let's close the Q&A, and then I have a final message here that I need to read. Okay, I think do we need to do the photo op first? Yeah. Sige, before we all go, let's have a photo op. I want to be able to see you all. And then we will be joined by the very wonderful Executive Director of Design Center in the Philippines, Ms. Ria Matute. Sorry, Ria, natagalan yung aking intro sa'yo, but yeah, let's have a picture taken.
Nahiya naman ako sa'yo.
Ha?
Nahiya naman ako sa'yo. Nahiya naman ako.
Ba't ka nahiya? Ms. Ria, tagal na tayong kakilala.
Kasi masanay akong hoy lang eh. Hoy.
Ayun ako. Photo op daw, tayo lang dalawa. Gaganon ba tayo? Paano ba? I don't see anybody else. Is it just us, or is there a group, or just us lang? Or is there a timer? Oh, just the two of us pala. Okay, let's. Okay. Okay, akala ko heart eh. Ganyan. Paano ba yung K-drama? K-pop, ganyan ba? Smile.
Parang mali yata.
Mali. I don't know.
Obviously, hindi nag-king whatever.
Yung mga anak ko kasi nahilig sa K-pop eh. Kamusta? So wait, I think I need to read some stuff. Ayan, I also have to remind our audience to answer our feedback form. Give us some feedback. Simply scan the QR code appearing across the screen or in the chat. As members of our design community, your opinion matters. So don't forget to fill out the feedback form. Before I go, I'd like to thank our partners one more time. Thank you again, Ria. Sorry say bye to you, but I think you're still listening. The Design Center and Design Week of Philippines would like to thank the Department of Trade and Industry, our festival co-curator Fringe Manila and Pineapple Lab, the British Council, uh, the Adobo Magazine, our live stream partner Kumo, and design partner Canva, and other partners such as NASA Space Apps Philippines, and the Half, Fame Plus, Buensalido Architects, University of Cebu Animation, UXPH, Life After Breakfast.ph, Matic Hub, Robbins Design Center, Philippine International Comics Online Festival, Comiket, Design Davao Society, Architecture Design de Oro, Cagayan de Oro, Design Week, and of course, we'd like to thank our audience members who joined us today. Maraming salamat po for joining me, and I hope you really learned something, and I hope I sort of inspired you to pursue this online Filipino worker career. And of course, we'd like to thank Project by Design, the Design Center of the Philippines, Better Normal by Design. Huwag niyong kakalimutan to, I have to plug this. Better Normal by Design is about data-driven design process and product development resulting in design solutions fit for the times. Collections of objects were designed quintessentially for the three localized personas: the stabilizer, the settlers, and the new optimists. Parang ako yun. These collections anticipate the needs and requirements of the personas' emerging lifestyles while being mindful of the consumer shift towards responsible consumerism. Better Normal by Design nudges the Filipino MSMEs into action to rethink products, processes, including business plans, and even reasons for existing to resonate with the future of business. Download the lookbook by scanning the QR code shown on the screen. And if you like today's program and want to post about it, don't forget to tag your posts with the hashtag DesignWeekPH 2021. Thank you for joining us. We will see you all tomorrow for tomorrow's design tour of Vivistop Baguio. Salamat guys, and thank you for joining me today. Bye. See you.